Hey everybody, it's Aaron from GoGrava.com in the Go Grava bicycle shop in Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, and I'm stripping down a Cannondale Topstone, which is like the earlier carbon fiber gravel bikes that were pretty affordable at the time. And the customer brought this in and really just needed some work done. They hadn't really gotten any work done on it. These sort of bicycles were really, were reliable, affordable and reliable bicycles when people bought them. So they really do last a long time. But it's always good to come in and get a bike tune once a year, because what I do here with my service work is I pretty much just strip it down almost all the way. Now I really don't strip down or take the headsets out unless it's necessary. In my experience, in my lifetime, I've worked on bikes that were 30 years old and the headset was still perfectly fine here. We just check and see if there's any grinding or anything in the headset, if it needs to be investigated, or look for any leaking like rust and things like that. Now, if we lived on the coastal area, let's say you were in Miami or California or anywhere there's a lot of salt water in the air, then definitely every time a bicycle came in, we'd have to take the headset off and clean it out, because that salt water really does kind of get into the headsets a bit more. So what we do is we just kind of strip everything out, and I've made a lot of mistakes in my life in my 40 years of tinkering with bikes since I was 10 years old. The biggest mistakes I ever made was just stripping out bolts, breaking off bolts, stripping off cranksets. I've already made all these mistakes before, so I'm very careful when I get a bicycle like this that hasn't had the pedals off in maybe 5 years. I just get a little bit of bolt shock, on there on the pedals, and around just a little bit around the crank to help it get it off. Really doesn't affect, if you're not really soaking it, it doesn't really affect the bearings. You just, clean the bearings off as soon as you get it off. And then I'm super careful about getting some of those pedals and parts off, because I don't want to strip them, because that's the only thing that I ever worry about when repairing bicycles is you strip a bolt out, and I have all the tools to pull a strip bolt out and rethread a bolt, but God, I don't want to do it because it just takes me forever. So what our service does provide here is we use an ultrasonic cleaner, and the ultrasonic cleaner is just a fabulous way to take something that was looking pretty cruddy before and then getting most of the grease and grime off. So we had a really dirty gear set here, put it through the ultrasonic cleaner, and voila, we get all this grease and grime out of the our cassette, and then we put it back on the bike and we give it back to the customer. It looks almost brand new. Same thing with our derailleur, our front and rear derailleur. Put those through the ultrasonic cleaner, and then I take them and I lube up all the pivot joints and get those working all nice and fresh again, and almost like brand new. And then we clean up the pedals too, clean up the crankset, get everything re-lubed and all the joints. We change out all the shifter cables here, which are easy to do. And then the other thing I did for this customer is that we had some really bad rusty bolts on the headset. And so it's not that hard. It only takes you a couple of minutes to just swap those bolts out. Really easy, one at a time, swap them out. And now the customer will have nice new stainless steel shiny bolts instead of those rusty bolts. Nothing worse than getting on your bike and looking down at the headset and seeing rust all over the place. So my goal always in a bike tune is to do something when the customer gets it back and they get back on their bike and they're like, oh my God, this is like brand new. This feels like a brand new bicycle. So I always suggest once a year you come in. Part of my service too, free, since it doesn't take too much parts, too many parts really, is we just go ahead and flush those brakes out also, and then we'll get new brake pads in since they had the original brake pads on there. And so my upcharge on the basic service, which is just a labor policy and work, kind of the work for it, is I just have to charge for the parts. So if you need new bearings, we got to buy those. This customer needs a new chain, they need new brake pads, and then they needed some new bolts on the headset, like I said, and we'll put some new cables in. But the cables and bolts are really cheap. Really the most expensive parts to add on are brake pads, $19.99 for a set, really not that bad, $24.99 for a chain, and you get a brand new chain on there, and yeah, everything's working good. And we even added 2 free bolts up top on the head tube that were empty. We don't want water and stuff getting in there. So yeah, I just hope to give this customer back a bicycle that looks almost brand new and rides like they bought it for the first time. So that's what Go Grava does at our full tune service shop. You can come in, I'll do all the work myself, but we're gonna go ahead and every bike we get to gets cleaned up. I'm not handing you back a dirty bike. You give me a dirty bike, I'm gonna clean it up for you. And when we get busier and we start hiring people, mechanics and employees and stuff like that, they're gonna be following my philosophy on how we do a bike tune and how we hand a bicycle back to the customer. So that's all for now. That's Sunday, shop's open. Bring your bike down to Go Grava Bicycles in Wyomissing, Pennsylvania. And I'd love to work on your bike and get it back to almost new. All right, take care everybody, bye.